Hey, and welcome to another episode of Geek Bytes Podcast. I'm Ramon Mejia.
And I'm Edgardo Acosta, trying to wake up.
This is episode 61 of the podcast for April 29th, 2016. He's waking up. I've been awake for hours. And every podcast, we bring you the round of the week, week's best geek and tech news. And then we discuss that news and, of course, anything else that we're interested in that week.
In Geek News this week, we'll talk about Apple's stock drop, plans to charge your cell phone, Nintendo's new console, the Punisher series, Doctor Who's new companion, trailers of the week, and more.
And we have nothing to discuss, so there is no discussion section, folks. So we're going to move on to our Geek News section. And our first story in the Geek News section is that Apple's sales are down, and so, of course, so is their stock. This week, Apple reported their quarterly earnings. They posted quarterly earning revenue of $50.6 billion and quarterly net income of $10.5 billion and $1.90 per diluted share. While that may seem like a lot, in comparison to last year's results, they had a revenue of $58 billion, net income of $13.6 billion, and 2.33 in diluted shares. In other words, this year was down for Apple. Now, many point to the loss of income for the drop in iPhone sales. Sales are down for the very first time in Apple history. They were down. They were 51.2 million sales, which is down about 16%. Now, as soon as this news hit the internet, Apple stock dropped 8.3% after the announcement. So this is not good for Apple, but it might be a good time to, invest in some Apple stock.
True. It's pretty much a little bit of a sign of the times. Yes. Financially, I don't think would you consider us going over the recession hurdle yet, or we're still kind of hurting?
I want to say that we're still on the upswing, but at the very bottom of the upswing. So it's not like a huge recovery, but we're doing a lot better than we were, 10 years ago.
True. Also being that Apple's usually kind of like every year, everybody waits for the latest announcements from Apple to find out what's the latest new device, new invention, new whatever. This year, I think, was it just shrunken down versions of the iPads, minis and whatnot, but not like I think it was last year was the Apple Watch. So, of course, last year was way better.
And I think Apple was hoping that the Apple Watch was going to do a lot better in sales, and it just hasn't done as well as they think they hope for. It's not going to be the new product that kind of pushes the Apple stock further into the future. They're kind of stagnating at this point, but I'm sure they're going to come out with something new and different like they usually do. At this point, though, like I said, if you have the extra cash, it might be a good time to buy. I think the price of Apple stock dropped to like $95 per share as opposed to like the $110 that it was just last week. So
I'm thinking, like I said once again, about it's going to be the next product, which I'm surprised Apple's a little bit behind on it. They're probably going to eventually jump on, hopefully, on the virtual reality craze.
That would be something they might do later on. I don't see them doing first generation because they just don't do first generation products. They weren't the first to bring out a cell phone. They weren't the first to make out a touchscreen. They were the first person to perfect those particular things. It's something really marketable and done well.
I just wonder if they do, would it be called the II?
The II. That might be nice, actually. It's a very interesting work.
Yeah.
But then they run into like the Wii with the two eyes on that as well. So
I don't know.
They might call it, they couldn't call it the Microsoft Eye because that would be a me.
The micro I or the MI. The me. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Oh, copyright infringement for those double eyes, but we'll see what. Hopefully, hey, it's not like they're hurting. So
they still made billions of dollars, so don't feel too bad for Microsoft.
Exactly. All right, what technology-related news? The BioLite markets phone-o-synthesis.
Phone-o-synthesis.
Yeah, a Barcelona-based company. Arcane Technologies wants us to use a single plant to charge your phone. The company's product pot called BioLite uses the energy generated by photosynthesis to charge smartphones. Bacteria in the pot breaks up the compounds, releasing electrons that travel along nanowires. The resulting electricity powers a typical USB port where you can plug in your phone or tablet cable. Arcane Technologies claim that the pod allows up to 3 charges per day and at about the same speed as a USB port on your computer would charge your phone. BioLite will only work on while the plant is alive, so taking care of the plant is crucial. If you kill your little green friend, you'll have to replace it with a new one. The pot is available for an early bird special, roughly about $112 on Indiegogo. The company already surpasses its goal by raising a nearly $17,000 and is estimated to begin shipping as early as December 2016. Like other Indiegogo campaigns, back at your own risk.
Absolutely. I love this idea of using natural processes like photosynthesis to charge your phones. That's all this really does. It takes that natural electrochemical process that happens in photosynthesis and using plants and biomatter and creates electricity from that same process. And it's not a huge amount of electricity, but it's enough to charge your phone over, a couple of different hours. So it's a nice way to feel green about your stuff, but it's also it definitely is a prototype product. And with these kind of Indiegogo projects or Kickstarter projects, you never know if they're really going to fall through, if there are going to be like delays in shipping. I know several Kickstarter projects that just disappeared or were delayed several years before, backers got them. So, if you want to do this, do so at your own risk, of course, but it is definitely cool.
The concept is cool. To me, a marriage of technology and natural, how would I would say it? Natural occurring things like the environment is always awesome. Like obviously, you can't have a giant turbine, wind generator, or not a wind generator, but like a turbine fan in your home to create. But it'd be great for in a perfect world.
Even if you can buy those things.
Yeah, but to marriage a natural thing.
This is a very cheap way to do so. You are right. Those large wind turbines will cost you $10,000. Same thing with solar panels in your home. It'll cost you several $1,000s to put them up, including inverters and all that tech. This is $100, and you get kind of the same kind of idea of using a green product that's natural. You're just feeding on a normal basis, and you're turning that into electricity for your phone. So it's much smaller way of doing that kind of thing.
I'm surprised it had. There probably exist. Like a mock plant that's pretty much solar panel leaves that it would do it.
There are some scientists who are creating that kind of thing. The solar panels actually look and mimic leaf products, and they use photosynthesis and very similar. But again, that's test market kind of things. We may not see anything from that for 10 years, if ever. And you could always just buy a small solar cell, this big, and just put it on the outside of your house or just outside of your window.
Exactly.
But even that's going to cost you like $100.
That's true. I just like that you called them leaf products.
Leaf products.
My thing is, real quick, I'd love to see a kinetic energy working device that runs off no electricity. Just like you ever seen those kinetic art sculptures? They just continually run and run and run and run. To me, I see that as a infinite endless power, a little mini turbine, and have that charged, not charged, but connect to a rechargeable battery or whatnot, and just continuously just charging.
That would be great if that was scientifically possible, but energy has to go somewhere. Nothing can run infinitely on itself for forever. You needed some energy going towards it, and eventually it runs out. So those kinetic sculptures, they do some nice tricks, but they don't create energy on their own, basically. So, but there are plenty of ways you can use physical motion to create energy. Hook up a generator to or a battery cell to exercise bicycle, or any of those exercise machines where they're actually having motions or wheels.
Old-fashioned hand crank.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. Only you can charge up a battery and then charge up your stuff. There are plenty of ways to do it that way if you like to. Now, speaking of some other great tech that's come out this year, sign language translation gloves. I thought this was absolutely neat. Two students from the University of Washington, Navid Azoradi and Thomas Pryor, have created lightweight gloves that can translate sign language instantly. The Sign Aloud glove prototype recognizes hand gestures and placements matching them to correct sign language words or phrases in real life. Sensors throughout the glove pick up the placement of the motion data of the hand, which is sent to a computer via Bluetooth. The computer analyzes the data, searching for a correlation in its database, and if it recognizes a gesture, then the ASL translation is played through a speaker live. this is a student project again, but they did won a Lemison MIT undergraduate student prize of 10 grand. So good for you, kids.
Concept looks good. It looks very prototype. You see wires still hanging off of it and everything. I saw a little bit of it in motion. I really couldn't be 100% verified that it was a thing. You know, they could have just been moving their hands, and somebody else would have been like, "Oh yeah, this is what it totally means as you move these fingers."
Well,
in this
the fact that they
position.
won like a legitimate science, almost a science project, winning 10 grand worth, kind of shows that this is possible. Now, theoretically, this is impossible for many years since electronics have shrunk down so much. But this is the first time that somebody's actually gone out and put all the pieces together. So, you know, I think that deserves some recognition, and I like the idea.
Yeah, I always thought they would come out with a, you know how there's a 3D scanning kind of cameras and whatnot?
Yeah.
I thought they would recognize hand gestures, so
they
would
do.
be able to read it like sign language in that way.
Yeah, no, there's definitely those kind of products as well that I've seen, like things like the Kinect, basically, where they can sense motion, objects, and figures, and they can use that data to correspond in some database. That does happen. It's just that wearing gloves is easier. Instead of having to have a computer hooked up to, you know, some kind of visual sensor in front of you or in front of your hands, you know, down here, then it's just, you have sensors along your finger ridges and along your hands and relative to your, you know, your body, which is what ASL uses, not just, you know, hand signs, but relative to your body position, you have different meanings. And as long as those positions are recognized by the computer, then something auditorily can come out. And that's actually a little bit simpler than making, like 3D visual software try to recognize something and then processing on the computer and then correlating it to a database. So I think this is a slightly lower tech option from what you're doing. I could see that being more useful in something like VR, where somebody who can't speak can then use sign language, but it's still processed.
That's true. I just want to see, you know, obviously it's going to be set to American Sign Language and whatever happens to, you know, across the seas. But for those like inner city areas, you know, they're going to have an Ebonics one or whatever, and got to watch out for those guys throwing out those gang signs, because if it winds up like, you know, representing whatever
that might always be a concern for the American Sign Language community, but you know there are different types of sign language, and you're right, this database would have to be expanded for all the international forms of sign language, but it's not something that's not undoable.
That's true.
But this is a good product, I think.
Yeah, can't wait. Let's see some gaming news. Consoles, actually. Nintendo pushes the new console up to 2017 with flagging Wii U sales. Everyone suspected that Nintendo was working on a new console. Turns out everyone is correct, just for this year. In the company's latest financial forecast, Nintendo formally announced that it is currently developing a gaming platform codenamed NX with a brand new concept. NX will be launched in March 2017 globally. Along with the announcement came the word that the next Legend of Zelda game will be launch title for the NX, while a simulation. How do you pronounce that one?
Simultaneously.
At
the same time.
There you go. Being released for the Wii U on March 17th. No other details about the NX or its launch titles have been officially released.
So this would explain why we haven't seen a Legend of Zelda game for the Wii U, really. Nintendo's coming out with a new console, and this has been like an unofficial rumor for probably a good year, but this is the first time that Nintendo's actually confirming that yes, there is a new console codenamed NX. It is coming out not this year though, in 2017, so a little less than a year from now. In March of 2017, you're going to be able to buy a new Nintendo console with, bundle hopefully with the new Link game. So I think this is going to be good for Nintendo as long as this new console is good, because the Wii U just seemed like a fancier copy of the Wii. So it didn't pick up on sales very much. Yeah. So Nintendo's going to have to come up with something new. There are no details as to what they're coming out with, whether it's going to incorporate new processors, better games, going back to the traditional console like control scheme, or if they're going to add like alternate, virtual or augmented reality. That might be a thing. Nintendo's been working with virtual reality for decades. And with this boom, they might move into that market as well.
it'd be too much of a rush unless they've been working on it, and that'd be great.
Like on the down low?
Yeah, because eventually they were the first ones that come out with the Virtual Boy. All the other consoles didn't have that.
Yep.
My thing is, yeah, definitely with the Wii U, I didn't jump on that bandwagon right away because I did, like you said, it just looked like a upgraded version of the Wii system. My thing is, with a lot of people, when it comes to new technologies, hopefully their old things don't get how you say deleted with the times, because one thing that I've noticed a lot of people are investing in, especially the collector wise,
like
are those little
amiibos.
There you go. I was gonna say like the Disney Infinity things. So it'd be like a waste of a lot of people's money if they will end up,
Well, that's always the risk that you do when you bring out a new console, making old stuff obsolete. But I think a lot of the other consoles have figured out that people want to keep those collectibles, so they make those particular products backwards compatible with a new system. So I don't see why Nintendo can't do the same thing, increasing that already broad user base and keeping their fans happy.
Yeah, so hopefully nothing against Link and the whole Legend of Zelda series, but I was, if it wasn't for Mario Maker, it kind of defeats the purpose. Like, what's going to be the next Mario game? Because you literally can make.
Yeah, Nintendo hasn't done like a lot of new intellectual properties. They always rely on their old stuff, which is fine. Everybody loves their original characters: Mario, Luigi, Princess, Zelda, everybody. But it's nice. It would be nice to see something new from them.
Anything that you would want to see, either brought back or upgraded or whatever for the Nintendos.
No, I mean, I like them. I would love to see maybe a VR Mario. I personally would love to see Nintendo go into the VR market. I think Nintendo makes great games that work with their consoles spectacularly. So if they could work out the magic for virtual reality within their intellectual properties, I think that would be amazing. And there's some fan-made ones where you play in VR on the original Legend of Zelda game, and as you go through spaces, the artwork is 2D. So even though you're walking in a 3D world, it's a 2D picture, and you can walk around the flat surfaces, and it's kind of a neat way to do it. It's very similar how Nintendo's handled Paper Mario, flat characters in a 3D world. I think that works out great in VR. I just don't think Nintendo's taken advantage of that in the VR sense.
Especially once Nintendo was. I'm not gonna say Nintendo was the first one, but we're on with the Nintendo 64 when you first saw the 3D version of Mario.
Yeah.
The third dimension, literally, running around.
It seems like they're just becoming less and less relevant to the cutting edge of video gaming, which I'm hopefully they're going to turn around with this new console.
Yeah. Real quick, Smash Brawl. It's always been great, so can't wait for that one.
Excellent. Now, on to some other entertainment news. We have the Punisher. The Punisher Entertainment Weekly has reported that Marvel has ordered a spin-off from vigilante character introducing Daredevil to the Punisher. John Bernthal, will reprise his role as the vengeful military veteran Frank Castle, who brings his own form of lethal justice to Hell's Kitchen. Writer and executive producer Steve Lightfoot will serve as showrunner. Marvel's The Punisher marks the 6th series ordered as part of the collaboration between Netflix and Marvel Television. So, what do you think, man?
I was a little slow. I was going to go with the Punisher kind of thing. Like, he kicks in, it's good. Yes. But, yeah, I'm glad to see that. I got quite a bit of friends that love the Punisher character. So, and actually, this Punisher character in the Daredevil series did not disappoint. Nope. Honestly, I thought visually he was okay. I was expecting somebody else, but not everybody
Something
could have that.
Bigger, more military.
No, more like stereotypical kind of like square jaw kind of looking at him. I'm like, I wasn't really thinking.
No, I think
Punisher.
his acting did a good job of emoting what the Punisher's about, though.
Oh yeah, totally. It was really good. I could only imagine how it's going to go off.
So between him and Elektra, who'd you like more?
There wasn't enough Elektra. Plus, Elektra to me as the character just seemed like more annoying. The reason saying is because it was like glorified rich girl that could, pretty much do whatever. It felt
very Lara Croft movie.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. The accent was what made it.
At least
worse.
until the very last few episodes when she got a little more badass and you got to see a little more backstory. But I agree. I like the Punisher more than Elektra in the Daredevil season 2 series, just because you got more Frank Castle. You got to see his character up front. They didn't hide any of the bad stuff as to what he's doing, and he's a little more brutal than even Electro was.
I kind of like, in a way, because it just builds up more of the suspense that they don't put him like straight out in the traditional comic book character costume.
Yeah.
So he didn't, like, in the very first scene you see him with a skull painted on his chest or shirt or whatever. He eventually, does it towards the end. Yeah. But it was really good. Can't wait till it come out. Can't wait for Luke Cage. Can't wait for any of the Marvel Netflix series.
Next one we get is going to be Power Man, I think, at the end of this year, September.
Yeah, in about less than a week, if not 2 weeks, Civil War.
Yep. Oh, I'm like, Power Man's gonna come out in 2 weeks. Yeah, Civil War. And from what we've heard from everybody, including Kevin Smith, it's the best superhero movie ever.
I've seen somewhat semi-spoilers on it, but the whole movie hasn't been ruined for me.
There's so many trailers you can kind of piece together what's happening.
No, well, I don't want to ruin it for everybody else, but there's I'll just say they showed more of the fight.
Yeah,
that's all I can say.
There's some things out there, folks. Don't look at them, but we're not going to spoil them for you.
Exactly.
Now moving on to our next entertainment story.
More Marvel-related movie news. Nathan Fillion joins Guardians of the Galaxy as Wonder Man. While it's been known for quite some time that the legendary Nathan Fillion will be making at least a small cameo on the upcoming Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, recent photos from the set given some direct insight into just who he'll be playing. Several posters and marquees references Simon Williams, a character known as Wonder Man within the Marvel canon. In the comics, Wonder Man is a chemically altered superhuman rival to Tony Stark. Due to his similar heritage as a child of a munitions industrialist, he's been an inventor and was involved in the Civil War plotline of the comics as well.
Yeah, so he's going to make a cameo. I'm glad to see that there are going to be a few more cameos in Guardians of the Galaxy than there were. I'm saying Guardians of the Galaxy 2 than there were in the first one. I love Nathan Fillion. He's one of the best geek-friendly kind of characters and personalities out there. He's a huge character in the geek community, so it's good to see that he's kind of joining the Marvel family.
Yeah, because everybody loves him from the Firefly series. He's been. Honestly, that series was introduced to me by a friend, and I kind of liked him. I dug him and everything. I liked him in general, and he's the kind of guy that goes to cons because he likes to go to cons. He's not one of those all right, time to promote a movie.
No, he absolutely appreciates that his fame kind of came by accident almost, and he appreciates how much of that fame and his paycheck comes from his fans. He's not one of those guys that's just like, yeah, I'm famous now, forget you guys. He's very adorable. He's Canadian, so he's super polite. He's super polite to the fans, and from what I hear on set, he's absolutely charming. So,
yeah, the Wonder Man character is going to be pretty interesting to see how it's going to turn out because he's been like love interest for quite a bit of characters. Yep. He's been used somewhat in the animated series here and there, but he was never really, at least to me, a major person that stuck out. Like, oh my God, it's Wonder Man.
He's not one of those characters you think, Avengers, major top 5 superheroes, but he's interesting enough. So
yeah, I just can't wait for more of the characters to come out because
with that W on his show, I always think, he's Wonder Woman's brother or something.
Nah.
Wonder Man, Wonder Woman. I mean,
yeah, that's true. I just can't wait for the more stuff to come out. Oh God, I want to say the tip of my tongue. Have you seen the little teasers things related to Guardians of the Galaxy with Chris Pratt? That they're doing a lot of contests now. That, like you want to be an extra in the movie.
Want to be on the set? Sign up for this thing. Go donate to this charity.
Exactly.
I think he's using the set and the character piece and that to promote a few of the charities that he works with, which is great.
Positive way.
And I don't mind that at all. But it's nice to see that again the community is reaching out and doing more than just earning money for executives.
I'm hoping rumor mill is going around. Of course, just being rumor. If they can work out a deal with the X-Men, and oh my God,
that would be interesting. You could get that Shi'ar timeline stuff.
Not just
aliens
that.
Coming in.
I will bust in my pants for that X-Men versus Avengers movie. Oh my God, that would be so amazing.
Yes, but licensing stuff.
Yeah.
Moving on to other entertainment news, we have Newt returning in Aliens 5. The news reports that director Neil Blomkamp dropped some interesting new concept art from the Alien 5 movie, featuring a badass, grown-up version of Newt, the young girl who survived the events of Aliens alongside Ruth Ripley. Newt and Corporal Hicks were revealed to have died when Aliens 3 started. Wah wah. However, it looks like Blomkamp is ignoring the storylines from Aliens 3 and Alien Resurrection, and he's kind of rebooting things. So I think this would fix one of my biggest problems with Aliens 3 is the fact that Newt died, even though it clearly shows at the end of Aliens 2 that she should have lived. So I'm happy to see that this character has a second chance.
We'll see what's gonna happen. I'm interested on see what kind of grown up version of her they're gonna do. Are they gonna make her like all overly sexualized, but like a crazy hot hunter kind of? I don't want to say like Electra kind of thing, but like especially with what she experienced, will she be that like really quiet, almost Punisher kind of like just takes care of business and just snaps heads here and there?
That would be interesting to see how they move the character. I hope they don't overly sexualize her because that's not the Aliens kind of feminine role. The Alien feminine was, badass.
Badass in a bodysuit.
Yeah, but just a character. They never over. I mean, there was sexualization obviously, but it was just more along the lines like, oh, that just happened to be a side issue. It's just not. That's not the thing. Her strong female role was always the big thing for the Alien franchise, right? Which is what appealed to a lot of female audience members.
I would like to see. Here's the scene. Here's like the cast members, Ripley, whatnot, and some of the other like Space Marines talking about there's Newt, and she's just crazy pulling the hair out of her head, just like in the fetal position, rocking back and forth. Yeah, the alien's gonna mess her up a little bit.
Maybe.
And they pan away and then continue with the story.
I think that might be a potential beginning for the character. Like she grows up in some psychological institute because of all the issues there. Then she escapes and becomes like an alien hunter. I think that's totally possible, but we're gonna have to wait and see how it actually plays out.
Who? Doctor Who.
That's who.
Doctor Who's new companion. The BBC announced this week that Pearl Mackie has been named as Doctor Who's companion along Peter. How do you pronounce that
Capaldi.
Capaldi. There you go. Time Lord. Mackie, 28, replaces Jenna Coleman, whose character Clara Oswald left the show in 2015. Filming for the next series of the long-running science fiction show will start this year, but air in 2017.
Yep. So I think she looks very interesting. We can kind of see a clip right now playing, giving us some small details about what her voice looks like, what her character might be. I feel like she's going to be more of a funny character than a traditional drama character, because the last few companions you've had have been a little more serious. And Peter Capaldi is definitely a dramatic character. He's not the silly Willy, David, kept the other ones. So I think this might be a good pairing.
Just realized we're almost kind of rocking the same hairdo, except less silver. She looks pretty cool, kind of ethnic. And I'm not saying ethnic like, oh, she's too blah blah blah. Well, but it's not the stereotypical, white BBC kind of thing.
Jenna Coleman was also ethnic, just not as much.
Yeah, not as much. Like, I love to see the variety of different ethnicities and different roles, even when they do like, how do you say, race swaps, kind of like the Nick Fury from being the traditional white guy with the silver, kind of looking like
I don't know how much Doctor Who you've seen, but they've had ethnic characters before, and even ethnic companions.
How about a black Doctor Who?
What?
But time will tell. Hopefully,
I think they're still waiting for the gender Doctor Who or the female Doctor Who. Those are all actual thing the fan puts up every time. Like the Doctor is going to change, there's always like this poll from the fans saying, "What kind of Doctor Who would you like to see?" And those always come up too. So
black
a different
woman,
color, a woman, a ginger. It's a running gag that he's always disappointed that he's never a ginger Doctor Who.
I wonder if how big is and I don't mean it in a bad way, in a disrespectful way, is like racism in Europe. I can't say, oh, America's racism is a lot worse than Europe's racism towards, different minorities, if you will.
I'd say racism exists everywhere.
Yeah.
I hear that it's less blatant in European countries, but I wouldn't know firsthand. I've been, but I've never really experienced it in Europe. You'd have to talk to somebody who actually lives there to see if there's some kind of thing there.
Yeah, because what do you think would happen? Do you think? And I'm gonna let's see.
I'll say it this way: nobody's up in arms in Europe that she's black.
No. I was going to say, like,
in the United States, people would be, calling race wars and saying, I can't believe they did this, affirmative action companion thing.
I'm going to use...
so maybe that gives you a difference.
I'm going to use Europeans' version of it. What do you think you would see first? A black prime minister in their version of presidencies and whatnot, or a black Doctor Who? What do you think you'll see first?
I don't think they'd have an issue with the black prime minister person. But again, I'm not European. I'm not English. I can't tell you firsthand. But either one, I think, is not an issue. Oh. Especially if you get somebody as a Doctor Who, like some famous black actors like Idris Elba. I think the fans would totally love an Idris Elba Doctor Who.
Yeah, because, like, no offense to obviously race mixing, whatever, kind of... as much as I want to say turn a blind eye to color and whatnot, I'm kind of used to seeing the same certain mold, just all the time, and I'm like, all right, it's still a white guy, just an older white guy, a younger white guy, a blonde white guy,
And that's a valid criticism. Within Doctor Who, though, I don't feel that it's intentional. These are just great actors.
That's true,
and they pull out a lot of different fun, interesting people.
True.
Now that's going to be it for our geek news section, folks. That's you.
Hey, no, I'm just kidding. Hey, you know what's goes great with geek news? A soda.
Yeah.
If you listen, selling out. If you, the listener, enjoyed the podcast or any of the other geeky content, we make and would be what?
If you, the listener, would enjoy the podcast or any of the geeky content we make, or buy us a soda to thank us, folks, then consider giving us that same amount as a Patreon supporter. You can give us that soda money at patreon.com/Geek Bytes Podcast, folks.
I was totally wondering where you're going with this.
That's right.
It's a soda.
It's the soda idea. It basically, this thing costs money to make.
Or an adult beverage.
Yeah, adult beverages, but it doesn't cost like a lot per person.
No.
Like if you want to show support, a lot of people think that if they're going to support somebody on this kind of podcasting or artistic kind of licensing thing, that they got to pay, $30, $40, $50 to make a difference. No. And the thing is that 10 cents, 15 cents, whatever it is.
Toss a shekel, a farthing, a
quarter.
Tuppence, a
soda costs less than $1. So if you'd be willing to enjoy the podcast and you buy us a soda, $1 a month, that small donation really helps with the podcast, because it's recurring income for the podcast, saying we have this set amount from like 5, 10, 15, 20 people. And that money really does actually help pay for the podcast, helps us to have the freedom to take away time from our jobs and to create original content, things like podcasts, author interviews, things of that nature that, we wouldn't normally have the funds to do so. So every little bit helps. And if you happen to like us,
and this
great. But if you don't, if you don't have the cash, I understand that. You understand that we're both not rich people either. So there's a ton of other ways to support the podcast. You can go to Geek Bytes Podcast /support. Find out all the other ways you can support us, folks. But that's our little spiel.
My thing is, as much as it'd be great to, have an anonymous donor give us a ridiculous amount of money for this, and we'd be like, yay.
I prefer the support from like 10 people, $1 a piece, because that kind of shows that there's a community there, rather than just one generous person.
Even if you don't cost any money, which would be great if you did, feedback. I love hearing feedback, because I'd rather hear, boo, you suck, or hey, man, that's really great, or, hey, I'm into this. Yeah. It's a community. It's a community.
It genuinely excites me to get an email from the Geek Bytes Podcast email thing, whether it's a comment on article we wrote, and we've gotten a couple of those from like the
he contacted an author of a book,
Lit RPG thing. We get some comments on there, so that's nice to see. I would love to see those kind of comments for the podcast for other things to do as well.
Yeah,
but we are going to move on to our trailers of the week, though. Okay, folks, in our trailers of the week section, we discussed the best trailers that came out this week. And remember, you can watch all the full trailers at geekbytespodcast.com. We're going to begin this week, though, with the trailer for
The Killing Joke, Based on the 1988 story created by Alan Moore as his own take on the Joker's source and psychology, the story became famous for its origin of the Joker as a tragic character, a family man, and a failed comedian who suffered one bad day that finally drove him insane. To be released July 2016.
Yeah, and I would love the fact that if this was going to go to the theaters, I would absolutely watch it there. I would probably watch it before I saw like any Batman versus Superman. I think this is a better storyline than that. It kind of humanizes Joker, but it also kind of paints him as the anti Batman in a lot of ways. Very similar origin stories, violence, corruption, people just trying to make it through. But you have one bad day, Batman, and you would be me. You know, in this story, I think this is the farthest that the Joker ever pushes Batman into killing him. You know, there's a lot of, adult themes here as well. I like it, and I love the trailer for this. It really does mimic the comic.
And the main goal of this is going to be, at least to the best of my knowledge, the first DC rated R animated, not short, but cartoon, movie.
Feature.
It looks great. It's the art style is not specific to anything on it, but it takes a lot of out of the pages out of the comic book. So you'll see, like, if you were to freeze frame it, it looks just like a page out of one of the comic books. Everything from
in the special features that come with the DVD, they show that they took a lot of inspiration from the original comic art, but they realized that it wouldn't work for an animated series as a direct copy. But they were heavily inspired by it.
I just can't wait to see it. It's I like a lot of things that I haven't really checked out but know of. I've never read The Killing Joke, so I haven't looked at the book. I haven't even downloaded or anything like that. So this would be totally new to me, and like I kind of already know what happens, but I just don't know how it becomes to be, how it comes into play.
Well, it's all explained within the movie, and we don't have too long to wait to watch it.
Yeah.
Our next trailer, though, it actually came out this past Saturday. X-Men Apocalypse. We've seen multiple trailers for this movie already. I like this one just because they keep expanding. They don't show so much that it ruins the movie for you, but I think they keep showing little snippets added to each particular piece. And this one, for me, just the claws at the end of the trailer kind of sealed the deal. It's like, oh, this is fun. The latest trailer for X-Men Apocalypse, again, hits the internet. We see all that mutant on mutant action. You get your first glimpse at Wolverine in the movie. So, what'd you think of it, man?
So didn't they say they weren't gonna have Wolverine in it or something like that, or they just kind of kept it under wraps?
This actually might not be Hugh Jackman's Wolverine.
That's true, because there is going to be one final Wolverine movie, and I kind of like the rumor that they might glimpse a little bit of X-23. But anyway, all you just see is the hands and the claws. But I don't know, me being like attention and detail, even the claws kind of didn't look like lined up that well. Either it was just a really bad makeup job or whatnot. But it looks good. If they do show him again, he was in Days of the Future Past, and he did connect with the...
So he does exist in that time period.
Yeah, certain the actors, some of them have been replaced with others, so there's some new ones. But can't hurt having Hugh Jackman on if he's on there.
Nope,
as Wolverine, especially.
Absolutely. But again, we see some like gladiatorial side stuff here. I'm looking forward to the movie. I can't wait until May 27, 2017. So a little less than a month from now, we'll be watching this movie, and we can give you guys a full review at that point.
Definitely. Next movie that's coming out is Cellphone Zombies. What else do you need to know? When a mysterious cell phone signal causes apocalyptic chaos, an artist is determined to reunite with his young son in New England. In theaters July 8th, 2016.
Yeah, that's what this movie thing kind of comes down to. I forget that guy's name. John Cusack?
Here you go.
Yeah,
you got it.
John Cusack. I haven't seen John Cusack in a lot of stuff recently. I can't recall the last movie I've seen. Samuel Jackson is also in the film. And, of course, he's totally recognizable from almost a movie a year at this rate. But it's good to see John Cusack coming back in something a little action-oriented, thriller. But the creatures in the movie, they just look like cell phone zombies to me, and which is not bad.
To me, last thing I saw John Cusack in was he played, I think, Edgar Allan Poe. I think it might have been called The Raven or something like that.
It was just weird. Yeah. I don't know that it was a pretty popular movie.
Yeah, and I was just channel surfing, and I'm like, hey, what's this all about? But anyway, concept of the movie looked interesting. It's done. It's a story based by what is it?
Stephen King?
Stephen King,
Yep.
which is like, yeah, he's usually known for horror and everything, but even this gimmick, honestly, it feels like it should have been a B movie. Like they should not have invested so much money into it. It should have been a B movie. Like, oh no, your cell phone signal, blah blah, turn them into zombies. It should have been like a student film.
I think part of the thriller is that you don't know who has been turned. There's not as quite as obvious as a zombie film where everybody who's a zombie looks like a zombie. There are pieces of them missing, flesh torn out, that kind of stuff. If you just look at somebody, you don't know until they actually look at you and are turned whether or not they're a cell phone zombie, which is what I'm going to call them from now on.
See, the concept of the movie would have been more interesting if not necessarily they turned the people into zombies, but just straight out like a sonic blast.
I don't know that they're actual zombies. I'm just calling them that just from their behavior. I think like they have some cell phone thing going on where they listen to some tone and it messes with their brain, makes them super aggressive and not recognize people. So cell phone zombies. Yeah, but I don't think that they're like regenerative or like if you shoot them in the stomach, they don't die. No, so they're probably a little more squishy than regular zombies.
Squishy.
Yeah. Now our last trailer is going to be Snowden. CIA employee Edward Snowden leaks thousands of classified documents to the press. This movie hits theaters September 16, 2016. And, who knew there were so many explosions or, shushing motions in the Edward Snowden story?
I don't know what to think of this one. This one really didn't.
Now, you've heard of Edward Snowden, right?
Yes. The whole European that exposed that whole thing, WikiLeaks and whatnot.
All the governments who are listening to their citizens, including the CIA in the United States. You get that kind of backstory in the first few seconds of the trailer, and then he's looking at these documents saying, "Hey, look, the CIA literally has access to all your cell phone data. They can tap into almost any cell phone or internet connection to grab and see what you do through all those nice video cameras they have on all your stuff." And while I'm not a big fan of this particular piece here where they show the internet as a bunch of like lines and pictures, I can live with that. But the idea of some guy taking it upon himself to grab all this information, knowing that he's going to be portrayed and that he is committing treason, but that it's important enough to him to give it to the press so that the rest of the citizens of the United States actually know that these things are real and it's not just conspiracy theory stuff. I think that story is very fascinating, and I'm interested to see how fictionalized it gets, like how beyond this gets. Because you see explosions in the film and it's like, do those explosions really happen? Is it really that thrilling? I understand they have to make it an interesting story for the film, but I'm curious to see the comparison between the two.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt, he's always been an interesting character, but especially being this guy, because last time I checked, I think it was some kind of blonde guy, very Danish kind of looking guy, the real version, Edward Snowden. But
he's not nearly as good as Justin Gordon-Levitt.
Exactly, but it's just funny just hearing his character. I don't know if he based it on the real person, but he's very kind of like...
Oh, no, the speech patterns. Yeah, he did a really good job of copying that. Yeah. I noticed that, too. That's one of those things that I saw. Oh, there you go.
Mm-hmm. But I like the suspension on it. I don't know how much of this is like how accurate it is, because like the biggest thing that really got to me is one, having all that information done on the little micro SD, and two, putting it in a Rubik's Cube.
As a way to get it out.
Exactly. He didn't just stick it between his toes or up his butt or anything like that to just get it out. I'm like, all right.
You think that would have been more logical, but hey, but again, I understand that there's some license taken with the actual story to make it entertaining for an audience in a movie theater, and I'm okay with that. I am curious to see what the story actually is, because this is not like it's like 10 years ago. This is very recent, and the effects of it are still being seen even today.
Totally. What does a government really have that people want to know? People should know, but it's just out there.
Yep, and that's going to be it for us folks this week. Thank you very much for listening again. If you want to support us, you can go to geekbytespodcast.com, see all the trailers we've linked here, all the links to our show notes, all the links we have in our full show notes section. And of course, if you want to support us, Geek Bytes Podcast /support. But for Geek Bytes Podcast, I'm Ramon Mejia.
I'm Edgardo Costa.
Now, go geek out about something.